Good morning, I'm Tisha Hines, and this is the morning report for today, Thursday, June 15th. In our top story, one secondary school principal believes the nation's students need to be taught about acceptance and humanity first if we want to deal with some of the complexities facing them. The Lord School's head Robin Douglas was speaking to the morning report on the issue of inclusion, bathrooms, and the behaviors being exhibited.
The school continues to move forward as we always have. I think that is extremely important. So when I say that, the reality is that we have gender-oriented bathrooms as we always have, and there's no intention to do anything different to that. When I talk about being inclusive, we're talking about, and I know that there is a focus on this because this has become something of national concern or debate. Right. But what we want the school to do, what we want our students to be, are persons who see the humanity in every person, whether you're disabled, no matter your race, no matter your cultural background, no matter your sexual orientation. These are realities that exist within our society. And as a place that is supposed to be producing citizens to operate within the future Barbados, we have to produce people who see persons as human first and foremost. That's the only thing.
And a level of tolerance?
Tolerance, I would say, not tolerance, acceptance. Because tolerance suggests that you are holding down upsets or biases or, but what we want is acceptance. An ability to say, this is a human being, and this human being deserves all the rights that this human being and that human being and this human being deserves as well.
The principal made it clear that school is a microcosm of a larger society, and if the children were given the toolkits to deal with the issues at school, it would also help solve problems in community and society as a whole.
The intention is for us to become a school that is aware of social issues. The reality is that schools do tend to be a microcosm of what's going on in society, and if we are going to be producing students that are socially mindful, they have mindfulness about what is going on in their world, and they're supposed to be problem solvers, then why not start that at a school? So what we would like our school to be is a place where challenges within the society, the surrounding community and so on, can be addressed by our groups, by our students, and we can come up with solutions and promulgate them and purpose them out towards our community so that the school becomes an active member of what's happening within the country. We want to produce a particular type of human being that is going to be considerate and to be that thing that Bajans always used to talk about being your brother's keeper, about taking care of who is around you, no matter how they've decided to live their life, as long as how they've decided to live their life brings no harm to anyone.
When asked about the level of violence being demonstrated by young people, he says all outbreaks may not be on the same level, but no school is without some conflict.
Things that are seen in our society will manifest in a school in Barbados. And so the challenges met by the administration, the teachers, the non-teaching staff of the Law School, and the students of the Law School are not different from other challenges that other schools may have. Maybe there may be a difference in frequency, but certainly what I would say is that we have been doing our utmost to work with what our societies produce, because children need to be protected and cared for and facilitated, and their growth needs to be facilitated. And the behaviors we see in children are an unfortunate manifestation of the traumas and experiences that they have had, whatever they are. And this is not casting aspersions on any particular group of individuals. I know there's a lot of debate about parenting and teachers and the roles of these persons, but the point is that the children are who they are because of the things they've gone through. And any school in Barbados has to be able to see that and try its best to tackle that. Punishments don't help if no efforts are made to try to get to the source. And I'm not saying that we have all the answers, but certainly this school tries. We have a multitude of programs and outreaches. I mean, the Ministry of Education recently, within the last year and a half or so, gave additional counselors to schools to work with the kind of things that we've seen. And you know, post-COVID, we did have some difficulty in behaviors and
European lawmakers voted Wednesday to adopt a key text forming the basis of a future law regulating artificial intelligence systems like ChatGPT, while aiming to foster innovation in the technology. It comes as global regulators are racing to get a handle on the technology and limit some of the risks to society, including job security and political integrity.
Artificial intelligence is rapidly changing our lives, which is why EU lawmakers say regulation is essential. Voting in Strasbourg, MEPs approved an AI bill that, once ratified by member states, could become a landmark law by 2025.
And it is adopted. Congratulations. It took how many hours, days and nights? It will still take for your hard work and for having found a balanced and human-centered approach to the world's first AI Act, legislation that will no doubt be setting the global standard for years to come.
MEPs say AI can be a force for good in everything from fighting climate change to education if the systems are safe and ethical. Under the proposed law, they'd be categorised according to risk. The higher the risk, the more rules. But systems deemed to pose unacceptable risks or curtail freedoms will be banned, including facial recognition in real time in public places. Companies breaking the rules could be investigated and face penalties.
There might be situations where there will be infringements that companies would not be either providing the necessary information or they would simply, with the applications, infringing the rules under the text, and that's when penalties could apply, and they range from taking the product off the market, prohibiting certain applications from the market, all the way to fines that can go to 7% of the revenue of the respective company.
Because AI is developing so fast, it has been challenging for EU policymakers to try and find the balance between protecting people's rights but continuing to support tech innovation. Too much regulation in the EU, says this tech entrepreneur and French government advisor, could lead to an AI brain drain.
The risk of regulating too much is to see all the key players moving to the US, for instance. And it's a big risk. I can tell you that I've spoken to a few teams, the most advanced in France, and they're really considering that if the law is too strong, that they would move out of Europe.
Who's against?
It's taken years for EU lawmakers to produce the AI bill, but with technology advancing so quickly, no one can really predict if it'll still be relevant by the time it's expected to come into force.
The U.S. Federal Reserve kept interest rates unchanged on Wednesday, but signaled in new economic projections that borrowing costs will likely rise by another 0.5 percentage point by the end of the year. This as the U.S. Central Bank reacted to a stronger than expected economy and a slower decline in inflation.
The central bank has been trying to bring down high inflation in the world's largest economy without sparking a recession. Live to Heidi Jocasta, who's outside the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. So, hi, Heidi, why this pause now?
Fully, in a word, they do not want to risk an overcorrection, and indications are that the previous steps to increase interest rates have already had the intended effect. We just saw the latest inflation report this week in the U.S. that prices are at 4% year over year. That is pretty promising. It beat economists' expectations, and it's a continuation of the downward trend of those inflation figures. Of course, the Federal Reserve has been on this aggressive campaign over the last now more than a year, raising interest rates each month up until now. So this is certainly the signaling of a new chapter. That said, though, interest rates as they currently stand, which is about 5 to 5.25%, that is still at a 16-year high in the United States, and that still has practical implications for people who want to take out loans or who have less money to spend in their pockets. It's more expensive to buy a house, to go to school, to buy a car, and for all of those reasons, there are still people who say that interest rates should be coming down. A pause, though, they say, is certainly better than an increase once again. The labor market remains strong, so there are still many indicators that the U.S. economy is performing healthily and still on the correct path toward a recovery that does not dip into a recession.
It's time now to preview what's coming up in Mornin Barbados. Well, the retired Liberian ambassador and organizer of Sankofa Pilgrimage to Barbados, Ambassador Lorenzo Witherspoon, will be with us to tell us all about the Sankofa Pilgrimage to Barbados. And we feature a number of exceptional youth. That's all coming up. But next, more news, sports, and weather after the break. The COVID-19 outbreak at the geriatric hospital has been brought under control. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George says more details on the situation will be released shortly, but he assures visitors can return to the facility to check in on their loved ones.
The outbreak of geriatric has been closed and the wards will be open. I think if it hasn't gone out yet, an official announcement will be made in the press. But the wards visitors are allowed.
Dr. George spoke exclusively to CBC News on the sidelines of the SIDS Health Conference at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center, where the focus is on NCDs and mental health. The CMO says he's now looking forward to the outcome document, which charts the way forward for the management of chronic non-communicable diseases and mental health issues in Barbados and other small island developing states.
Far so good. We have had a lot of interventions to date, and I think the outcome document is going to be indeed strong and is going to set a roadmap for where countries can try to put their management and leadership on their agenda with respect to NCDs and mental health.
Summer bookings are down, and that's a cause for concern for the Hotel and Tourism Association. Word of this from Renee Coppin as she delivered the chairman's report at the annual general meeting at the Sandals Resort yesterday.
Occupancies from November 2022 to March 23 were even above our 2019 levels. ADR and revenue per available room have also continued to show strong recovery. It was also winter season, which saw more positive cruise numbers. And this was driven by a healthy balance of home porting ships and transit ships, where many home porting ships stayed for 2 days in Barbados. And that home porting business also brought with it 436 wide-bodied flights out of the UK and Europe, which drove increased sales to both the cruise as well as to the hotels.
The government also called on the key decision makers of the industry to pay due attention to the fundamentals of the sector.
Ensuring that we have adequate airlift, building effective marketing programs, ensuring that there's industry input when they're making plans and collaboration, building summer business, addressing environmental issues such as sargassum and rodents, and infrastructural concerns that we all share, especially in relation to our roads and our public facilities.
Government has been clearing the air about the $60 fee surrounding the new Trident identification card. In a statement issued last evening, Attorney General Dale Marshall stressed the money is not for the first issue of the cards. He explained it only applies to replacement cards, and as such, the 202,140 people already registered have collected their ID cards for free. The AG says this stance is constant with the Barbados Identity Management Act, and he explained what the legislation describes as the transition period.
There's a provision at Section 34(8) of the Barbados Identity Management Act, which provides that a person who applies for an ID card outside of the transitional period shall pay a replacement fee. This has been dealt with quite simply by the government extending the transitional period. The Act came into force on March 3rd, 2021, and so the one-year period expired on the 2nd of March 2022. We have since then issued several extensions of the transitional period and are about to extend the transitional period yet again. So we are currently 1 year and 3 months past the first anniversary of the commencement of the Act, at which time persons were expecting to be made to pay for ID cards, and not a single person has been charged for an ID card.
Grenada's government will not be divulging why Grenada was not included on a recently updated list of countries granted visa-free entry into Canada. Their Prime Minister says he is leaving that decision to the Canadian government. GBN has that report.
1 week ago, Canada announced the addition of 13 countries to its electronic travel authorization program for eligible travelers. 5 of those countries are among Grenada's closest neighbors: Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. However, Grenada was not on the list, a fact that prompted many nationals to clamor for answers. But the response they seek won't come from the Grenadian leader. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, during GBN's Beyond the Headlines Monday night, said his government will continue to lobby its Canadian counterpart to reinstate visa-free access or electronic travel authorization for Grenadians wishing to travel to the Commonwealth country.
I would prefer not to see why the Canadians did what they did. I think it's really for the Canadians to speak to that, and I am not going to speculate. Right? Thirdly, no, it is not because of Grenada's. I can say this certainly. Well, first of all, our CBI program, at least since we've been in office, has not been mismanaged, and it is not because of that.
According to the Prime Minister, government is confident that whenever Canada's visa waiver list is next reviewed, there ought not to be any reasons why Grenada should not be included.
Guyana's Ministry of Education has announced the introduction of a new program aimed at fostering well-rounded students within the school system. Minister of Education Priya Manikchand revealed the initiative and says it seeks to cultivate better citizens and future leaders, as we hear in this NCN TV report.
So you're going to see us rolling out by September. Every student being exposed to and proficient in, as distinct from practically as distinct from writing an exam about it, at least one sport, one instrument, one foreign language, a TVET subject, and a strong sense of volunteerism.
The aim of the government is to ensure students at the secondary level experience holistic growth and development. The Education Ministry believes that by engaging in hands-on learning experiences, students develop problem-solving abilities, critical thinking skills, and a sense of creativity and innovation. Minister Manichan also explained that while Guyana has been doing well, the government wants to ensure that every child has the requisite skills to become leaders of tomorrow.
So we've always been doing very well academically. We've been topping the region. We've been going off into universities, Ivy Leagues actually, and doing very, very well. But we also want to make sure every student exiting has academic qualifications, but also be a bit more rounded.
These skills are highly valued now, especially with Guyana's rapidly evolving job market, and can significantly enhance students' career prospects. Meanwhile, the government is also pushing to have quality education delivered by ensuring that all teachers are trained.
In the Bahamas, days after the Prime Minister announced plans to increase the national insurance contributions rate, the government remains tight-lipped about the specifics. Based on an actuary report months ago, a 1.5 to 2% increase was recommended. We now go to Eyewitness News for more.
I say again, next week Tuesday, when I make my contribution, you will have that information.
State Minister responsible for NIB Marcel Roda remaining tight-lipped on what an increase for the national contribution rate could look like as of July 2024. This comes days after Prime Minister Philip Davis revealed that an increase would take effect next year as officials hope to save the fund from ongoing depletion. So why not implement the increase this year?
The ceiling increases next year, January. And so to move it earlier than that would have meant that employees would be paying on increased salary in January and then again in November, in July. And so we wanted to not only, we wanted to roll it out in July, and that way the employees in particular would have enough time, and so the public would also be aware of what the increase means, because it's going to be more than one.
Now, to give residents some breathing room, the fund is set to lose nearly $100 million due to the delay.
Mexico are in for their fourth straight year of drought, and government in response is aiming to provoke rain artificially.
The Mexican Air Force, flying high above the center of the country, heading into battle with an enemy that's been hitting these lands for the last 3 years. Drought. They're taking engineers from a private firm, Startup Renaissance, to deploy a secret weapon that they hope will literally make it rain. It's called cloud seeding. It means spraying particles of crystalline silver iodine into clouds. The water droplets there are attracted to those particles and cling around them. That makes new, heavier drops, heavy enough to fall as rain.
They call us cloud hunters because we're constantly monitoring the movement of clouds and checking if they're in our target area. That's when we program flights.
Authorities have been seeding in different parts of Mexico since 2021, but the target of this new program is the 7 reservoirs of the Cutzamala water system. That's because these reservoirs through the system deliver water into Mexico City where there are chronic shortages, and the hope is that by cloud seeding and topping up their levels, this one for example is at one of its lowest ebbs in the last 25 years, the water flow into the capital will increase. Cloud seeding is costing the Mexican government around $20,000 per flight, so there's a key question: does it work? Air Force Captain and meteorologist Ricardo Torres has no doubt.
These operations, which we have been carrying out since 2021 in the north of the country, have increased rainfall from 25–40%.
But some scientists aren't convinced.
In my opinion, I have always said this is a waste of money. This is a money pit. They claim that they have evaluation methods that we question very much. I don't think their evaluation methods are valid. And the other thing is, with the very little information we have, we know that the dams, the dams in Valle de Bravo and the Kutsamala system, the 3 dams, have not been refilled at all.
One thing the engineers in the programme and scientists agree on is that cloud seeding alone is not a silver bullet that will solve Mexico City's water shortages.
Time for sports. Britain's Hill closed the gap on third place Allerton Football Club to 1 point when the BFA Premier League continued at the Wildy Turf. The 3-0 win for Britain's Hill over struggling BDF sports program moved them to 26 points, and the sports program sit 11th on 9. Meanwhile, in the night's other match, Silver Sands Football Club remained rooted at the bottom of the table after UWI Blackbirds hammered them 5-1. Blackbirds stayed in 7th position, but they now have 18 points, while Silver Sands remains 12th on 6 points. Our Damien Best reports.
Good night for football at the turf. First of a doubleheader. Britain's Hill in red up against BDF Sports Program. Early chance for the Soldiers. Deflection forces a save and a rebound. Well, I bet you he would love to have that one back. Let's go to the 11th minute now. Excellent distribution down the right. Cuts inside. 3 defenders. Was that a shot or a cross? Who knows? But Ray Francis is in the right place at the right time. That's 1-0. The floodgates open afterwards, and BDF were lucky not to concede another goal in the first half. Mediocre defending, and somehow Britain's Hill failed to advance their lead in the contest. Second half business, 66th minute. BDF retreating, but cannot stop. Kendolph Lewis with the side-footed finish. 2-0 to Britain's Hill. A few minutes later, goal number 3 was offered up on a platter. Trip in the box from a tired-looking challenge. And that, my friends, is a penalty. Corey Hoyt steps up, opts for the right side, but so does the goalkeeper, Terry Smith. Well done. Not to worry, though. The third and final goal was scored in time added on. Mario Cooper sets himself nicely. One of the top goals of the month. 3-0 in favour of Britain's Hill. Next up, UWI Blackbirds in yellow versus struggler Silver Sands. 7th minute, shot from distance, saved. The rebound. Oh, heartbreak. Started brightly in the second half. Otherson, genius of a cutback and a left boot of devastation. Superb. That's 3-1. The job was complete in the 76th minute. Another costly mistake. The cavalry arriving. Baravaldo Messiah adding his name to the sheet. 5-1 in the final analysis. Victory to the Blackbirds.
Let's take a look at the weather before we wrap things up. The barometric pressure stands at 1014.6 millibars. The present temperature is 28 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity stands at 75%. The winds are blowing out of the east at 26 kilometers per hour, and the present temperature is fair with slight haze. Sea conditions, moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters, and small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution today. So when you go out to swim, make sure you are very, very careful. Here's a look at how the tides will roll in today. And the general forecast for Barbados: partly sunny with a few brief isolated showers. Into the evening, it will also be partly cloudy with a few brief isolated light showers. And here's a look at a few select international cities. Well, that's it for today's morning report. Coming up next, we have Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
It's Thursday, June 15th. So great to have you in company for another presentation of Morning Barbados. I'm Tisha Hines, and I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. Be sure to check us out online as well. We are streaming live on YouTube. We're also streaming on our Facebook page, and you can follow us for the latest news updates on Instagram as well. So we are well into the week already, Thursday, can you believe it? And crop over is in full swing. So at some point today, we're going to tell you a little bit about what's happening with the Crop Over Festival and what you can expect, certainly what the CBC Soulcaholics are doing as some of the leaders in the festival. A lot of tents are opening and things of that nature. It's also Q Thursday, which means there's Q in the community. So we're going to tell you all about where you need to go to be a part of Q today, and it's somewhere picturesque. That's all I'll tell you if you don't yet know. Of course, it comes live at 11 o'clock on 100.7 FM, and you listen to a repeat on Saturday. But we really want you to show up to Q in the community today. It gets started around 11, like I told you. So great show planned for you today on Morning Barbados as we feature a number of exceptional youth. Denise Stephanie Hewitt, who is a visual artist and creative generally. She is going to be on. She's based in Brooklyn, but she's going to be on to tell us all about her works and what she's been doing in that particular area. We're also featuring Pierre Cook Jr., who is advisor to UN Barbados and the OECS, and a member of the Sun Lead group. So he's going to be talking to us about his work and about his recent appointment as global leader in the fight against malnutrition by the UN Secretary General. Should be very interesting to hear the young people's perspectives on these things and a whole lot more. And if that weren't enough, we are indeed featuring another exceptional youth today who is also doing some wonderful things, a dancer, a soca artist, and an actor. Demico 3D Newton is also going to be on Morning Barbados today talking about the fantastic things that he is doing. So all of that is coming up, and we definitely want you to stay tuned for it. Of course, we give you an update of the news at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock, and that comes around. And then, of course, we move into the other part of the show. So what we've been sharing with you today is something very, very interesting. Ambassador Lorenzo Llewellyn Witherspoon is now going to join us on set. He is the retired Liberian ambassador, and he's organized a unique event called Sankofa Back to Barbados Pilgrimage. Now, the inaugural event is scheduled to take place during the season of emancipation, which really is now, as we continue to do the various celebrations and look at our culture and heritage, and is a prelude to the 160th anniversary of the departure of 346 Barbadians to Liberia in 1865. Now, the event is expected to attract over 700 Barbadian Africans, family members, friends. And during this interview, we really want to talk to retired Ambassador Witherspoon about the insights of the initiative and the significance of the events for the African Barbadian community. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Wonderful to have you with us. Now, first of all, can you tell us more about the Sankofa Pilgrimage and what inspired you to organize this event?
Well, to be honest, the idea came from Prime Minister Motley when I met her 2 years ago to present her the report of my family's research project to track our origins to Barbados. My great-great-grandfather was one of the 346 Barbadians you mentioned that went to Liberia in 1865. And at the end of our discussion, or nearing the end thereof, she asked me, she wondered that wouldn't it be a very good thing if we could bring descendants of these people back to Barbados so they can see, because they are Barbadians, she said, see where their people lived and worked before they went to Liberia. And the sequel, if you may, to that would be to take Barbadians who stayed on the island to Liberia to see where their people went to. So I thought it was a brilliant idea, especially because since 1865, 158 years ago, there had never been an organized, not even organized, I don't think any of those 346 people ever came back to Barbados. So I think it was befitting idea that their descendants get an opportunity to come here. And the Prime Minister said, look, the island will be happy to have them back. The government will be fully supporting you in this initiative. And I think this is something that's going to be very good for us in our whole Africa reintegration agenda.
What impact do you think this will have on the African Barbadian community to be able to see this repatriation of sorts?
You mean the ones here or the ones in Africa?
Both ways.
Well, I think it's going to be, first of all, I should tell you that the response has been so phenomenal. The young people especially, which the Prime Minister emphasized, is the demographic that she would like to see on this pilgrimage, because they are the ones who constitute that critical demographic that can and will and should help to build Barbados, because they are all over the world, the global diaspora, she said, and it's true, contributing to other development in other areas. And this is their country, and she wants them to reconnect with Barbados. And indeed, as I mentioned, they too are very excited at the prospect of doing that. So many have been coming here. In fact, since my visit 2 years ago, many have come to go down to the archives and do the ancestry tracing. I'm encouraging every day others to do their DNA testing. But I was at the archive yesterday, and the chief archivist told me that the response over the last 2 years, the interest rather, has been overwhelming. And thankfully, now that they've gotten some good equipment to digitize those records that are in the archives, because they were not accessible. They are now more accessible. You know, a lot of more work needs to be done. But the interest is there, and people are coming a lot to see it. So I think that's on this side. On that side. On this side, I think I have found that many Barbadians don't really know their African roots, and I think it will be very good for them. I've spoken to many this time while here, and I'm seeing similar interests in the pilgrimage, in the opportunity to mingle, to mix, to talk. We found our family members on the island. I'm from the Port family.
Okay.
And we formed a bondage 2 years ago. We have the best family, which came from Trinidad, but the Prime Minister told me, said, Ambassador, don't be misled. All the bests that went to Trinidad went there from Barbados. So however way you flick it, you are Barbadian. I'm not going to argue with the Prime Minister. But yes, so I think there's a growing momentum, a growing interest here on the island, which is a good thing. And it's good preparatory work for the sequel event that will be taking Bajans that remain on the island to Liberia to see where their forebears, their ancestors were sent to and settled, and connect with their relatives there, because we have relatives on both sides.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning and talk then about that very significant time in Barbadian history where these 346, I believe, Barbadians, went to Liberia. Let's talk about that period, about where they settled, and now where we are today in terms of them acknowledging that their ancestors, that they're descendants of Barbadians.
Right. Well, that's very interesting that you mentioned that, because it all began in, I think, around 1864, when our then Secretary of State, who himself was of Caribbean origin. He had immigrated to Liberia several years before, embarked upon the president of Liberia at the time, Daniel B. Warner, telling him that, and of course this was after 1833 when the Abolition Act, Slavery Abolition Act of the British monarchy had been implemented. Well, had signed, it was implemented in 1834. And the Secretary of State convinced the president that, look, Liberia had just become independent in 1847. And so we were trying to build Africa's first independent republic. And the Secretary of State convinced the president that we have our brethren in the Antilles, they used to call it that then. They probably still do. And these are all highly skilled people. Why don't we invite them to come to Liberia to help us rebuild? Of course, now they're free to move around now that the Slavery Abolition Act has been passed. And of course, they are desirous of building themselves up and exploring and experimenting with republicanism. And to our surprise, to the surprise of the government, the Governor General at the time, of course, after consulting London, said, brilliant idea. And so that was 1864. In 1865, then they have to find money. London-born, Barclay family, they restarted a group that had been disbanded as the Barbados Company for Liberia, and with support from the American Colonization Society, which itself had been founded 40 years ago to send free black American slaves to Liberia. They provided the first $10,000. And two Barbadian brothers, Cruiser brothers, were the ones in charge working with London Bone and the Barclays here to put the trip together. And as it happened, on the 6th of April in 1865, the ship sailed after two false starts. One was as things were gearing up for the MV Coral, the Brick Coral, to sail. The Governor General had a thought, says, wait a minute, let's just check that vessel and make sure that it's seaworthy. Because we don't want to be blamed for sending people out there and the sea, they can't sustain the ravages of nature, and these people die. So I think it was postponed for about 2 weeks. And then after that, then the whole vetting process was going on by that time, because they were very, very carefully vetted to make sure that it was Barbados' bests that they were sending out there as emissaries, as ambassadors, to go and represent Barbados and make a good name for Barbados there. And the president of Liberia, too, was also excited. He promised that on arrival, each Barbadian will get 10 acres of land, each family will get 25 acres of land, and Liberian citizenship on arrival. So they found themselves arriving in Monrovia on the 10th of May, and the president had a big splash of a dinner for them, and then he appointed a special part of land away from Monrovia, which is the capital, about 25 kilometers away, trying to separate them from these free black American slaves and settle them in this area where they gave them this land. The area, in honor of those two Barbadian brothers, Cruiser brothers, was named Cruiserville. It still exists today. My great-great-grandfather, John Prince Port, his first order of business was to erect a church, which is the last church he attended while he was before he left Barbados, and he named the church Christ Episcopal Church. That's where he attended service. And he named the street that the church was built on Lemongrass Street. They took lemongrass, breadfruit, all these things, coconuts, all these things were then back there. And Liberia produced the first two presidents of Barbadian origin anywhere on planet Earth, Arthur Barclay and Edwin Barclay, one cousins of each other, and I think there was about 12 years between their leaderships. But Arthur Barclay, at 19 years old, he wrote the national anthem of Liberia, All Hail Liberia, Hail. So we went on from there to be involved in every major aspect of the public sector, the private sector, government. We produced chief justices. It's a pity I didn't bring my papers, so you would have seen the eminent roles, held by eminent persons that came from here. But Bajans have played a fantastic developmental role in Liberian politics and the entire landscape.
Of course, this fits into the larger conversation about the diaspora and generally talking about the importance of connecting with our roots, our ancestral roots, and roots generally as well.
Right.
And you know, I did read this story. I did a lot of research, but I thoroughly enjoyed sitting here listening to you share the story. You are a great storyteller.
Well, thank you.
And I think I also read that the people on the boat, that they represented about 50 Barbadian families who went on to not only, you mentioned the churches, but they built schools and, you know, all types of other structures. We're certainly looking forward to sharing more about this and hearing more about it as well. That's just a fantastic story. And to think that you're sitting here as a direct descendant of a Barbadian really, really warms my heart. I love this story, and I think there are tens of Barbadians all across viewing right now who are thinking, I need to find out more. You know, it's a great conversation starter.
I think it's a very good thing. Again, I was at the archive yesterday, and the chief archivist told me that she's seeing more and more Liberians from across the global diaspora inquiring or calling or coming to do the research. And she's also beginning to see, in smaller numbers, Barbadians also making inquiries about this. And it's very important because no matter how thin the thread, there's a connection between all of us. Every black person on this island and every African. And in my research, you'll be glad to know that when I established factually, because my grandmother used to sit us down on the stairs in the evening and tell us about Barbados, the stories that her grandfather had told.
Well, you have to come back and tell me about those stories that were told. We don't have time for you to tell the stories now, but this is a wonderful segue for you to come on back and share some of those stories that you were told about Barbados. There are so many questions swirling around in my head about the role the lemongrass played and the breadfruit and all of the other stories and various things, tangible and intangible, that your ancestors would have taken from Barbados to Liberia. Right. Okay, so the pilgrimage is going to come off between the 6th and 13th of May, 2024. Right. It's a prelude to the 160th anniversary of the departure in 1865 of the 346 Barbadians to Liberia. Ambassador Lorenzo Llewellyn Witherspoon, retired a Liberian ambassador and organizer of the Sankofa Pilgrimage to Barbados. We haven't even touched on the word Sankofa. I learned about Sankofa in college, so I mean, we could talk about that too. So you definitely have to come on back and share more with us. This is a wonderful conversation to get going. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're sharing some information on some exceptional youth. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, time to feature a few exceptional youth. So let's go right ahead and say good morning to Denise Stephanie Hewitt, who is a visual artist and multi-hyphenate creative. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Now, I'm told that you made history when you shot a cover for Marie Claire magazine. That, of course, is an amazing feat. But before we get into that, let's step back a minute and share about your love for photography and visual arts and how it all began.
So I had always been creative, whether it was making, doll houses out of cardboard or, redecorating my room as a child. But I found a program in my high school years that was teaching students about lighting, about studio photography, about film cameras, and that's what really started my journey. And I really learned about portraiture and taking photos of people and what that means. So that's really where my journey began, and a lot of my opportunities first came from that amazing studio called Red Hook Labs and my mentors there.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, I understand that you are also involved with Vogue.com. You also do some work for them. Tell me about how you were able to make that connection at such a young age.
So honestly, I've been blessed to be in the right place at the right time. And a big part of my career is about building genuine relationships with peers who really believe in my work. So it's about being proactive, going out to events, pitching and promoting yourself, and also cheering on others. And so through that, I've been able to get my work seen and name known by the right people. So once I see these opportunities, it's about seizing them and really bringing yourself to bring your all to it when those things are brought to your table.
Well, I know that you also lead not only across creative, but academic fields as well. You're involved with your school's Students' Council. So tell me about how you're balancing the academics with your creative side and everything else that comes along with being a 17-year-old, very active teen.
It has definitely been a journey. I've been doing this since my 9th grade year. I'm about to be a senior in college at this point. So it's about, being super organized, but also knowing and prioritizing what is most important at the time. Doing college full-time, but also freelancing full-time. There's a lot that you have to sacrifice between, hanging out with friends more or working more, but also knowing when it's time to give back. And that's something that I really owe to my family, who have taught me the importance of doing that, which is why I'm really a part of that council. It's the council to kind of give back to students and see what opportunities we can give to the rest of the department who are also studying what I study. So it's really important to kind of give back when I can.
I also introduced you as a visual artist and multi-hyphenate creative. What does that mean to you? Coming from you, what does that mean in terms of your work and what you produce or where you're going?
Right. So photography has definitely been the place where I've shined the most in the past 6 or 7 years that I've been doing it. But for the future, and why I call myself multi-hyphenate creative, is that my skill sets are in multiple things. And so photography is one way in which I tell stories, but there are a plethora of other ways to do that too, through video, through writing, which I've been able to do at my current internship. So it's about knowing that there's multiple ways to storytell and making sure I'm balancing all of my skills as I continue to whatever roles find in the future.
I know that you've also had occasion to work with sharing your maternal grandmother's migration story. That must have been deeply personal and very important to you. Talk to me about that.
That is probably my most prized project. I really had kind of full creative control with not only the story, but also who was with me working on that story too. I was able to even cast my aunt as a part of that story as well. But really, my work and personal work has always been rooted in lineage and family heritage. And so my great-grandmother on my father's side is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and she has a whole story of immigration to Brooklyn, which is really what the inspiration for this was. I was awarded the competition and also a campaign with Barney's New York, which is the company I did this lookbook for, where I just got to take their clothing line for the fall of 2018 and then turn it into whatever story I wanted to. And I thought it was the perfect time to honor her and honor that story, particularly because the clothing reminded me of her Sunday's best. as she goes to church, how she would dress herself in like beautiful dresses, decorated hats and everything. And I knew that I wanted to honor her story, not just because of, you know, the sacrifices that she made, but also the neighborhood for which she bought a house in the mid-1900s as a Black woman herself, in what is now a coveted neighborhood in Brooklyn that everyone wants to move to. It's really such a multi-faceted story that I definitely wanted to shine light on.
Have you been able to find out more about the country? Have you been back since then? Is there a disconnect with the family there and the family in the U.S.? What has been happening with that?
Quite the opposite. I actually spent my first Christmas in St. Vincent. I spent many of my summers there, and so I'm very, very connected with my family there. Happy to say that I'm going back this summer for the first time in a few years since COVID, so I'm super excited. And actually I have heritage in Barbados as well. My grandfather is from there, so happy to touch base with both countries here.
All right. Well, if you're spending every summer in St. Vincent, it means you weren't spending many summers here in Barbados. So what about that connection?
So I have had the luxury and the pleasure to spend some summers in Barbados. I recently was there last summer. And then, so I've been able to balance both, and between different holidays and times off, I make sure to always visit my aunt over in Barbados. Shout out Auntie Rose. So I'm very, very rooted there, and I am honored to be here this morning. It was such a pleasure to be here.
How do you say your Caribbean roots have influenced the type of art that you produce?
So I would say that in addition to the focus on lineage and heritage, which is super important, community is what I have really cherished and prideful of. And so although I was born and raised in Brooklyn, definitely, I'm raised with Caribbean teachings, sayings, and a way of being. So my mother and many of my maternal figures in my family tree for the West Indies have really taught me the importance of nurturing and giving and being mindful and aware. So it's the small things like packing barrels to send home, or running errands for people even though they didn't ask to. These gestures of kindness that are rooted in kind of grassroots community care is something that is very important to me. So whether it's lending my camera and my lens and my skill sets to people and stories that need amplifying, or just simply in giving people opportunities like being on the council, or like when I'm on set and I'll ask other friends to help me out. It's about giving back in that way. And so I'm always really highlighting family, lineage, communities, and that growth. So that's what's really important to me, and I've learned from my maternal figures in that way.
All right. Congratulations are in order. I understand you won a scholarship from Gordon Parks Foundation, Gala. Tell us how you received that scholarship.
Once again, it's always been about being in the right place at the right time, and I really have my relationship with the man upstairs to really, thank for that. I have been blessed with, having mentors, especially with the chair of the photography department at NYU, Deborah Willis, who has really believed in me and mentions my name in rooms that are really, really important. So per her suggestion, and, for people really looking back at my work, it's a combination of, knowing the right people, but also showing up and doing the best that you can, and also being professional in that way. The gala was amazing. I met some amazing people there, and it was just a reminder of why I do it, especially with celebrating Gordon Parks' legacy that day.
Well, congratulations to you. You definitely are an exceptional youth, and it truly has been a pleasure sharing a small part of your story on Morning Barbados today. I'm sure all of the aunts all across Barbados and those watching across the diaspora and in New York, because I know Caribbean people, if my niece is going to be on, I'm watching. I'm sure they're very, very proud of you, and they're looking forward to all that you will accomplish in the years to come.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. We will feature more exceptional youth as we move on Morning Barbados. But coming up next, we have an update of the news.
morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning indeed. Time for an update of the news. One secondary school principal believes the nation's students need to be taught about acceptance and humanity first if we want to deal with some of the complexities facing them. The Lodge School's head, Robin Douglas, was speaking to the Morning Report on the issue of inclusion, bathrooms and behaviors being exhibited.
The school continues to move forward as we always have. I think that is extremely important. So when I say that, the reality is that we have gender-oriented bathrooms as we always have, and there's no intention to do anything different to that. When I talk about being inclusive, we're talking about, and I know that there is a focus on this because this has become something of national concern or debate, right? But what we want the school to do, what we want our students to be, are persons who see the humanity in every person, whether you're disabled, no matter your race, no matter your cultural background, no matter your sexual orientation. These are realities that exist in our society. And as a place that is supposed to be producing citizens to operate within the future Barbados, we have to produce people who see persons as human first and foremost. That's the only thing.
And a level of tolerance.
Tolerance, I would say, not tolerance, acceptance. Because tolerance suggests that you are holding down upsets or biases or, but what we want is acceptance. An ability to say this is a human being and this human being deserves all the rights that this human being and that human being and this human being deserves as well.
The principal made it clear that school is a microcosm of a larger society, and if the children were given the toolkits to deal with issues at school, it would also help solve problems in community and society as a whole.
The intention is for us to become a school that is aware of social issues. The reality is that schools do tend to be a microcosm of what's going on in society, and if we are going to be producing students that are socially mindful, they have mindfulness about what is going on in their world and they're supposed to be problem solvers, then why not start that at a school? So what we would like our school to be is a place where challenges within the society, the surrounding community and so on, can be addressed by our groups, by our students, and we can come up with solutions and promulgate them and purpose them out towards our community so the school becomes an active member of what's happening within the country. We want to produce a particular type of human being that is going to be considerate and to be that thing that Bajans always used to talk about being your brother's keeper, about taking care of who is around you, no matter how they've decided to live their life, as long as how they've decided to live their life brings no harm to anyone.
Government has been clearing the air about the $6 fee surrounding the new Trident identification card. In a statement issued last evening, Attorney General Dale Marshall stressed the money is not for the first issue of the cards. He explained it only applies to replacement cards, and as such, the 202,140 people already registered have collected their ID cards for free. The AG says this stance is consistent with the Barbados Identity Management Act, and he explained what the legislation describes as the transitional period.
There's a provision at Section 34(8) of the Barbados Identity Management Act, which provides that a person who applies for an ID card outside of the transitional period shall pay a replacement fee. This has been dealt with quite simply by the government extending the transitional period. The Act came into force on March 3rd, 2021, and so the one-year period expired on the 2nd of March 2022. We have since then issued several extensions of the transitional period and are about to extend the transitional period yet again. So we are currently 1 year and 3 months past the first anniversary of the commencement of the Act, at which time persons were expecting to be made to pay for ID cards, and not a single person has been charged for an ID card.
That's it for our update of news. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon right here on CBC TV 8, followed by The World at 1 via our radio network of stations on 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. Morning Barbados continues after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back to Morning Barbados. Of course, this year has been designated Year of the Youth. So we are taking that to heart today as we continue to feature exceptional young people. And we saw that played out. Of course, that was noted by CARICOM that it's the Year of the Youth, and we have to salute our young people. So often we hear about negative things that are happening across society. So it's wonderful that we're able to salute them wherever they are, wherever the roots start, whether they start here in Barbados or other parts of the Caribbean or indeed across the globe. It's good to tell them, hey, job well done, you're doing a good job. And this next young man is one such person. He's advisor to the UN Barbados and the OECS and Sun Lead Group member. He's going to qualify all of this for us. Of course, he has also been appointed as global leader in the fight against malnutrition by the UN Secretary General. And the Sun Group is actually an acronym for Scaling Up Malnutrition. So it is a movement. So congratulations on your recent achievements and welcome Pierre Cook Jr.
Thank you very much.
It's so good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, we have to start at the beginning. Tell me about your interests generally and how it led to your appointment to this very important role.
Yeah, so I started off in this space around rights and children's and the protection of their health around the age of 16, mind you. I was invited to a meeting by the Healthy Caribbean Coalition where they were speaking with stakeholders about what they could do to make the world better for children, or at least in Barbados. And I remember sitting in the room and they were talking about changing the diets within the secondary schools. And at that time I said, well, hey, at the back of the room, I raised my hand very shyly. Has anyone spoken to the students about this? You know, has anyone asked the children what they think about this or how we feel about this? Because it really felt like persons were going to come into the schools, change everything around us, and then we would have to deal with it. And since then, they were like, wow, we need to have you on board. And through the support of persons like Sir Trevor, who's seen and said, you know, we need more young persons to come on board, I started and continue to use my voice within this space. And it's just to make sure that children have the best bet in life, to make sure that the best interests of children are protected. You know, they have the right to health, and if I can help us realize that, I want to.
So tell me some more of those issues, or go in depth a little more into the way that you've been throwing your voice towards advocacy and towards these particular areas that truly impact young people and giving them a voice.
So my platform tends to be both local, regional, and international. Locally, I had the awesome opportunity to be a part of the Barbados National Youth Parliament. I actually was the Prime Minister of the Barbados National Youth Parliament. And so through the Youth Parliament structure, I was able to speak in National Parliament about issues affecting young people, and I always tend to lean towards the rights-based perspective. Beyond that, I've had the opportunity to speak regionally. In Trinidad, we had a couple of sessions where I went to speak about what governments can do to put better systems in place for children. Beyond that, I've had the awesome opportunity to go to as far as Dubai to speak on what needs to be done to protect children. And necessarily, when I'm invited into these spaces, in these rooms, it's to give a youth perspective, it's to give a unique perspective, and really to tell those adults, those professionals, the technocrats, what it is that us young people are asking for. What do children need? To give that fresh perspective that some of them might have forgotten because they've been in the space so long, it may seem as if it's foregone.
Been out of the space. All right, so what are some of those things that we are missing since we've been out of the space? Because I've been out of the realm of being classified a young person for a minute. So what are some of these things that we are missing?
Young people now are more vocal. The things that young people are asking for are different to what I guess our parents wanted for us or thought was necessary for us. For example, recently I've been having a conversation around the fact that access to the internet is a right of the child. And for some people that's crazy because growing up, we didn't have internet. How is it that all of a sudden the internet has become a human right? And so it's conversations like those and talking about the progression of rights and how they change. Children have the right to health. They've always had the right to health. How does protecting that right look like? It's changed over time. When we talk about years gone past, when our parents were children, it would look like nutritious foods, making sure they had access to a good diet. Now, we're going a step further. The package warning labels is something that we are having a conversation about. And what that is basically, we want people to be informed about the choices they make. Foods are out there on the supermarket shelves. You have your cereals, you have your sugar-sweetened beverages, and oftentimes there's a nice cartoon character on it, or there may be a cute game on it, and the child sees it and they're like, "Mommy, Mommy, I want that." What we're saying is that we don't want you to be marketing to children. It's a bit predatory. Children don't know what they're consuming. Parents have to make that choice, but we want parents to know what is happening in that food product. And so what we're calling for is for governments to implement a system where you go to the supermarket and you see a certain food product, and where you see, I don't know, a triangle that says high in sugar, you can buy it if you want to, but at least when you look at it, you will know that it's high in sugar. Sometimes the ingredients are so small and minuscule at the back of the box, you never know that there's like 50 grams of sugar in a box of cereal, but we want parents to see that, to make informed decision for the health of their children.
Pierre, what are you doing as an ambassador to make sure that you're bringing the young people who are on the fringes, the young people who are not necessarily mainstream, the ones who don't have an experience of maybe, you know, representing Barbados, being a part of the National Youth Parliament, the ones who truly are from marginalized and vulnerable communities? What are you doing to ensure that they come along on this journey, that you are representing their thoughts and feelings as well?
Brilliant. So within the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, where I'm the technical advisor, part of our mandate is to make sure that we have the voices of people with lived experiences. What we have done within the last 2 years to create a cadre of young persons across the Caribbean, different backgrounds, different perspectives, to bring them together to say, hey, we know these issues are affecting you. You've spoken up about it. We want to provide you with the tools to be better advocates. We want to provide you with the tools to go out there and speak about it within your own communities, so that there doesn't need to be a Pierre in every island, or there doesn't need to be a Pierre traveling to every island to give this conversation. We will provide you with the information, the resources that you may need so that you can have that conversation. So part of our team, our Healthy Caribbean Youth, we have persons who are living with diabetes, we have mothers, we have teachers, we have persons who are civil engineers, because we want to get that broad perspective of different people from different walks of life who can come together and share with us what is facing them, what are the challenges that they're seeing, and necessarily what they want to see as solutions, and how we can help them. So, you know, we have this wealth of knowledge. How can we share it with you, and how best could we share this with you to make sure that across the region and even further, the message is put out there? So we are working very hard to ensure that from various sectors of the community, we have persons engaged so that we always have someone we can talk to. One of the things I'm always happy about is if we have something coming up, there's a conversation at UN, the World Health Organization, we can always call someone and we know Well, we have this girl from Belize who speaks on mental health. She can be a good person to come in to have this conversation. We have this young lady from Antigua who's living with diabetes. She gave us a brilliant perspective of how difficult it was for her to access insulin during the hurricane. It would be great for her to speak at the UN General Assembly. And so we also provide a platform for other young persons to build and develop. And really it was because this model, the Healthy Caribbean Coalition invested in Pierre. They saw what was produced through that investment. And so they're continuing to make sure other young persons benefit from a similar model.
That's excellent. I just want to make sure that on your journey, because sometimes we are so great at sharing that sometimes we forget the young people who are on the fringes, the ones who aren't necessarily as well spoken, the ones who are not necessarily as outspoken, and we have to make sure that our ambassadors truly speak for all youth. And sometimes that sounds like a big order, but with an ambassadorial post that comes with it as well. We're now having a high-level meeting here in Barbados to address all of the issues you talked about, nutrition, and the OAS is here represented, the WHO. In the last few days in the news, we've heard that the head of the WHO has said he's concerned about things like the cost of fruit and vegetables here in Barbados and across the world, as much as 40% higher than in other parts of the world. What are you doing within this Scaling Up Nutrition group, which was initiated back in 2010, so you've had a little while to kind of get on it, to ensure that you're addressing things like these that at the basic level can truly be stopping young people from eating well, which is what they need to do.
And I'm happy that Dr. Tedros raised that conversation. It's one that it's always a tricky one within this space, because I find that sometimes as youth and health advocates, we say we want this to happen and people should do this and you should eat healthy. But there's a flip side to that, the cost of eating healthy, the cost of vegetables. And so it's difficult to go to parents and say, you need to change your child's diet, you need to change what they're eating, but then you're not providing them with the funds to make that change. And so what we found is to have conversations with vendors, have conversations with persons who are growing the food, to see how best we can get some subsidies on those costs to ensure that there's a better opportunity for persons to eat better. Now, through this new position that I'm holding, I'm hoping to collaborate with government and other stakeholders to see how we can best work to create a model to put out there for the world. And the nature of the position is, I'm from Barbados, and yes, I've gotten the position and I'm a Barbadian citizen, but we are building something indigenous to export to the world. And so our solution to malnutrition, or our recommendations of what could be done, it is to be exported to the outer world. And so I had conversations with the Prime Minister, Minister of Health, even Dr. Tedros, and we are committed to working together to see how over the next couple of months we can try to turn the tide a bit on health and malnutrition amongst the Caribbean and even the wider world.
Looking forward to turning the tide, and I truly am impressed with you, your style of presentation, your depth of knowledge, and further congratulations on that appointment. Just to qualify that, the Sun Movement consists of 65 countries, 4 Indian states, and 4,000 civil society organizations, 1,400 businesses, including SMEs, 16 UN agencies and international finance institutions, and it goes on and on and on. So it truly is, a credible appointment, and is something that you should be very, very proud about.
We're the first Caribbean island to actually be a part of the movement.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for flying the Barbadian flag high. And, as if by fate, his name is Pierre Cook. Who knows? You might be helping to cook some of his wonderful meals.
One could hope. One could hope.
All right, we're going to take another break and come on back here on Morning Barbados as we continue to feature exceptional youth. minutes after 7 o'clock. It's all about exceptional youth today. We might as well brand it Exceptional Youth Day. And as if we haven't forgotten that we are going to tell you all about what's happening with Q100.7 FM and Q in the community later today. And of course, the CBC Soccerholics are taking you out and about. They went out last night, and there's something major coming up on Saturday as well. So we'll tell you about those as well before we wrap up today's show. But it's time for CJ Cumberbatch, who's a dancer and humanitarian, and she's another exceptional youth that we're featuring today. Good morning to you, CJ.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now you say that your passions are dancing and helping the less fortunate. So tell me about the intersect of these two things. And you're hoping that you can move into a career path that helps you to kind of amalgamate the two. So talk to us about that.
Well, you see, the thing with the arts is that in the first place, Barbados doesn't have the most huge arts community. And so when you get into areas like dance and theater arts, it becomes a lot more minor. Like, there are very few persons that you would see. They're very small communities. And so the way that I would find, how I would find a way to merge dance or just arts with my humanitarianism is because when you look at the lower socioeconomic class and the avenues that those children have, those opportunities are very limited. And so we would find a lot of the students who go to schools that we would consider at the bottom of the scale, they don't have the opportunities to get involved in the arts as much as other students do. And so I'm hoping that my passion and my ability in dance and my experience in theater arts will be able to help students who do not have the opportunities and do not have the funding, and be able to bring them in and give them a greater understanding of the arts as a whole.
Yeah, that truly is a sign of your big heart, that you want to be able to work with less fortunate children in the communities to be able to share your first passion. So let's start there. How did you get into dance? At what age did you start?
Whoa, okay. So as long as I could remember, I had an interest in dance, but I was not able to pursue it the way that I would have liked. So I just remember being at church. Most dancers actually, we started in church. I remember wanting more than just being on stage and doing a one-step, two-step. And to me, it was a place where I became very annoyed and uncomfortable because I wasn't allowed to, to develop and to give my full potential into something. And so I would say that the root of my dance career really began at church. But then I was given the opportunity to do it on a more professional scale. So I started at Dance Strides Barbados under Sharon Trotman. And it was a great experience. And then I went to Grenada City Secondary, actually. And I was studying theater arts with Stephanie Chase. And she would always tell me that I'm talented, I can act great, but what's going to set me apart from the others is that I can dance, that I can use my movement in my characterization. And so from there, from that moment on until now, every time I step on stage, I remember that I have two elements that I can use to put myself on stage and to broadcast myself, and that's what's going to set me apart from some of the rest. And so even in portfolio that we had BCC in May, you could see some of my pictures on the screen, and that's my group piece. You would see a lot of theatrical elements were used within my solo and within my group piece. So that's where I got the start and the love for dance. I also did the theater program at BCC beforehand, and from there I was like, you know what, I really want to take the leap of faith and I want to go into dance full time.
Let's talk about your dance style. Do you have a preference in terms of types of dance?
Well, I really love abstract movement. So yes, I love African, yes, I love Caribbean movement. I can appreciate ballet as well. But I'm more leaning towards contemporary and modern, just because it gives you a little more freedom in movement, and it's not as strict and rigid as the same ballet and African. So those are my genres. Anytime you see me on stage or anytime you see me choreographing, you're going to get some type of abstract movement, some stuff that look a little weird and uncomfortable. That's my avenue.
All right, so abstract. How does that translate to the world of dance? I know you started talking about opportunities that aren't necessarily there in this part of the world when it comes to the arts. So when we talk about abstract art and look at it in the context of the world of art and what we do as creatives, what you do as a dancer and the entire theater space, where does that fit in?
Well, I feel like when you're doing something, the first thing you have to consider is that people may not like your work, and that's fine because it's your art at the end of the day. And so when you go into spaces, and being an artist is being vulnerable, and when you go into spaces and you say that you want to do something that's abstract because that's what you like or this is what you feel the piece needs, then you need to go into it with the mindset that it's not going to be appreciated by everyone, and everyone may not get your topic or whatever you're trying to address. And so sometimes when you try to go the abstract way, you have a lot of confusion and a lot of backlash that is met with you. But if you know that it's something that you really want to do, it's something that you're interested in, you should continue to go along with it. But because there are not many opportunities, you find yourself going to the more traditional routes of dance. So you find yourself going to the Caribbean movement a lot in Barbados, because we find that most of our opportunities happen around crossover time. As you would know, we would dance behind the artists that we would be needed for different events. But I would just always encourage persons that wherever your passion is, if it's abstract dance, if it's contemporary, you would go to that and be passionate about it.
We mentioned your drive, the way you feel about helping less fortunate young people through your number one passion, which is dance. But I know you're involved in many other areas. So what are some of the things that you truly are passionate about when it comes to youth and greater society at large that you'd like to work to in future?
Well, as I mentioned before, and I think is a bit of my personal experience, having went to the grade and secondary school, I felt very limited in what I was able to do, because even though I was involved in music, I wasn't given the opportunity to complete it because I was the only one in the school who had chosen it at 4 Farm. So then I had to choose a different subject instead. So just living the experience of going to a school that may not have been considered, one of the best or the most elite, that gave me an opportunity to understand and assess my feelings and to understand what other children around Barbados are going through. And so I go to church at Large Road West Honest Church, and we have a youth group, and the talent is so significant there, and I feel like I give major props to those who run different community centers that are geared towards getting children from all around, and especially in the communities, to help them, and understanding that art can be very therapeutic, and it can aid in the healing process of many children and their struggles and their trauma. So I am very passionate about the youth as a whole, and I feel like I've been given the opportunity to understand them closely based on my experiences. So I would say that that's what I'm most passionate about.
I can feel your passion even coming through the screen. What has it taken for you to get to this place where you're so comfortable with discussing this? Because a lot of people talk about these things behind closed doors, because it creates some angst in me to hear that you selected music but were unable to do it because you were the only student in a 4th year group who did it. There are a lot of students who select subjects at that level that they truly are passionate about that they're not able to do for whatever reason because of, limits on class numbers and things of that nature. So what has it taken to get you to this place where you're so comfortable with expressing yourself, sharing your personal experiences, and talking about how you'd like to help other young people who might be in similar situations in future?
But I have to give big props to my family and my foundation at home, because they have been very instrumental in helping me to believe in myself and helping me to stay the course. And I've always known that I had ability, but ability only gets you so far. Everything else is hard work. And so I feel coming up in my household, my father is a musician, and he would have experienced some of the same stuff that I would have experienced. And so to get to where I am today, I had to rely on my family a lot to encourage me, to support me, to be the backbone. And a lot of the time, people see you, but they don't understand the steps that you took to get where you are. So they see you and they're like, well, how she get there? Last time I saw her, she wasn't in that position. But sometimes, especially when you're in a leadership role, people don't understand all that comes with it. So they don't understand that there's a lot of criticism. They don't understand that there is a lot to go through behind the scenes. But again, I know that I've been called for this purpose, and I have a passion for the youth. And the main thing that I had to do was to sit down, get in the mirror every morning, and I made my little self-analysis, and I say I am brave, I am proud, I'm beautiful, I'm talented, and I sit down and I encourage myself. And then you find persons who have similar passions and similar goals, and they assist you along the way. Yeah, so even in my experience with the theater program under Miss Michelle Hingston Cox, she was very instrumental in, allowing us to creatively express ourselves, all coming from different backgrounds. So it took a lot of confidence and a lot of nights at home, sometimes crying, sometimes venting or whatever. But I would definitely say that for me personally, my family has been my backbone, and they've allowed me to freely express myself and get where I needed to go.
Now, we saw quite a bit of your work for the group portfolio, and then some of your individual work as well for the portfolio for the BCC program. What are your plans post BCC?
Well, I'm actually leaving early next month to go to Florida on internship with Disney. So I'm hoping that's just going to be opportunity for networking and professional development. And, when I'm down there, you try not to be anxious because you're going to be in a completely different environment. It's a completely different culture. But when I'm down there, I'm hoping that I can get my foot into different experiences and just overall be able to broaden my horizons and be able to say, well, I've went there, I've done this, did that. And to be honest, Barbados will always be home for me. A lot of persons have been asking, you will really come back? And my answer is always yes, because I see that there is an issue here. I see that there are areas that need to be improved upon in Barbados. And this is my home, and this is where my heart is. So I'm hoping that every opportunity that I get, I can take it back home, and I will be able to be a vessel and be able to help others in their journey.
Congratulations. You truly are an exceptional youth, and Disney is a great place to start. I don't know if you've been to Disney before, have you?
Yes, I've been.
Right, so you'd know that all of the characters, they're in character all day, every day. So it really is an interesting experience, and I think it will augur well for who you are, what your thoughts are, where you hope to go. And I'm happy to hear that you want to come back home and share all of that experiential knowledge and experience that you're going to gain in another country. So thank you and congratulations on being who you are. Congrats to the parents. It's not been lost on me that you also mentioned two amazing teachers, Stephanie Chase from Graydon Seeley School, and Michelle Hingston Cox, your theater arts teacher at Community College. two people whom I've worked with recently on a project with young people as well, and they truly are passionate about young people and helping them to do well. So you are the epitome of, what we live by or what we should live by in that, we talk about the village raising our children, and I think you are, a product of that. So I'm very proud of you and all you've accomplished. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, another exceptional youth featured here on Morning Barbados. The time is swiftly moving by as if you thought that was enough. Coming up next, we have another exceptional youth. Stay with us. Back, it's another presentation of Morning Barbados. Today we are featuring some exceptional youth from across the island and indeed across the world. Let's bring it back home and stay with the arts and say welcome to D'Amico Newton. Good to have you with us. D'Amico is a dancer, a soca artist, and an actor, and he's in the process of completing another associate's degree in the arts. Is it another associate's degree or a full degree? Yes, a second associate's degree in dance after completing the first in theater arts at BCC. Good morning, D'Amico, and welcome.
Good morning, Tisha, and good morning, Barbados. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you with us. You are truly someone who is steeped in the arts. You absolutely love it. What has fueled this passion?
Honestly, I would say my mentors and past teachers. It started in primary school with my principal at the Garda Waters, then principal at the Garda Waters Primary School, Mr. Tyrone Marshall. Just one day, he called me in the office, and I think, I'm in trouble. But then when I got into the office, he told me that to sing, just read these couple lines, and he will play the drum towards it. And then that's where my introduction to theater arts was. But I always had my love for dance and soca growing up, but I just never had the courage to. But after, passing for the Christchurch Foundation School and then doing theater arts, my theater arts teacher, Mr. Angelo Lascelles, after having conversations with him, he really motivated me and encouraged me and telling me, D'Amico, you have this talent. You are worthy. You are enough. You don't let no one stop you from achieving your goals, because at the end of the day, it's all about you, and you can only live your life. So after doing theater arts and finishing at Christchurch Foundation School, I then went to do theater arts. And then just meeting more teachers, Dr. John Hunt, he was like, dance is for you, go. So I was still like, all these persons seeing something in me, and I'm not fully seeing it. So then I eventually decided to go to the dance program, and I just completed it. And yeah, now it's just going on from now on to the next chapter of my life.
What was it like doing that dance program after not necessarily seeing what other people were seeing in you? You know, what was it like going through that entire process?
It was an emotional journey. It had its high, it had its lows. I really enjoyed it. I found new stuff about myself that I would have never known. I found a truer love and truer passion for dance. And yeah, it's just amazing. It was just amazing. The persons I've gotten to work with, to meet, it's just so aesthetic.
All right. Now, you did your first soca song called Slow Whining. I'm yet to hear that song. I'm very intrigued, though, D'Amico. I'm going to go searching when I get off air because I want to hear that song now. So you did your first song then.
Unfortunately, it's not recorded. Yes, but I do intend to do it over. I'm probably doing a remix to it. But yeah, I did it for the Junior Calypso Monarch at the time. Because there was a party element added, a party prize for that party song. So I was like, okay, Calypso ain't really my thing, but if this is a way to step into the soca realm, then I'll go. And I made it to the semifinals and then end up doing a guest performance for the final. From there on, I would have joined. The next year, there was the Junior Soca Monarch, which was produced by Treasure 10 TV and Crystal Cummings Beckles holder. And they really thought that it was time that young persons had the opportunity to experience soca and, to always also push the drive that young persons could do it too. We have our fathers and our godfathers and our kings and queens of the soca realm, but the youth can do it too. So I would have sang my song Alive that year and placed second in the competition. And it was just grow from then on. I'm
still going to find it. Even though you say you didn't record it, remember, I can still find it. Especially since you were in Junior Monarch.
Yes, please.
I can absolutely find it. Now, you said that you want to be a teacher so that you can share all that you have learned through these passions that you've been really, I don't even want to say studying, but just kind of honing and enhancing and growing with over the last few years. So talk to me about, that passion in you now to be a teacher.
Yes, please. So I got a glimpse of that experience after being an intern teacher of another nature dance company, and just working with young persons, teaching them what I know, and then they're also teaching me as I go on. It's just a good experience, it's all about growth, it's all about connections, it's all about helping one to help yourself and help the overall growth of the art in Barbados.
You're also a part of, now you mentioned the of Another Nature dance troupe, but you also joined Dancing Africa in 2022. How has that contributed to all that you are as an artist?
Dancing Africa would have been the first group I joined, and it has been amazing. They have helped me grow artistically, emotionally, physically. I just love the group. I love the aspect it has. If one person is not getting something done, three persons are going to run there to help that one person, because at the end of the day, you're only as good as the worst person, and it's all about family, it's all about community, it's all about love, it's all about growth. So I really love the idea.
Good stuff. I love your spirit and a very infectious smile. Today is actually called National Smile Day. We're going to talk about that a little later. I usually say smile because I'm always smiling too, so I get it. So what are the plans for after community college when you all wrap all of this up? What's going on with you? Where are you heading?
Yes, please. So just like my colleague CJ, I am also going to the Florida to do the Disney internship program. And when I come back, I want to, I'll go there and try to make some connections, see what I can bring to Barbados. Maybe, I might go there and see someone who's giving opportunities, who's looking for dancers, who would be looking for technicians, whatever they may be looking for, it's just to put Barbados on the map again and showing them that, we have the talent, It didn't only stop there with Rihanna, but there's more.
Yes, there most certainly is more. Yeah? And I can see that you truly are passionate about what you do. So again, congratulations and thanks for flying the Barbadian flag high in advance.
Thank you.
When you get there, I'm sure you're going to be very, very successful in all that you do. Just like I spoke with the last young lady who was on. Have you ever been to Disney?
Unfortunately, no, but can't wait.
Don't say unfortunately. Don't say unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you've not been because, the gleam, that glimmer that will be in your eye, once you see it, I think is going to ignite an even greater passion in you for performance and dance and all of that wonderful stuff. So when you come back, or before you do, once you get that surprise, you have to reach out and say, Tisha, you were right. Here's what happens. All right? So congratulations to you, Mr. Newton. And I certainly wish you all the best in the future. It's been my honor speaking to you here on Morning Barbados. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Another exceptional youth featured here this morning. We're going to take another break and come back. Coming up, we are going to tell you all about something very important. It's a new poster that you really should take note of. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So the National Council on Substance Abuse, they are having a poster and writing contest on a very serious topic. Now the topic is Don't Meth It Up. And the guidelines are as follows. You're to create an image showing why people should not use meth. Posters should be 11 by 17 in size and landscape in format. And they must be original, so only original works, no photography. So you include your name, your email, your telephone number, and you go ahead and you send that in for a chance to be a part of that contest, and of course win some of the amazing prizes they're offering. Now for the writing contest, entries must not be more than 400 words, and entries are judged on creativity, originality, and relevance to the theme. So you include your name, email address, and telephone number as well for a chance for the writing contest. And the contest runs from June 1st to June 30th of this year. You must be 16 years or older to be a part of the competition. So this one for older youth, where you have an opportunity to showcase your talents If you're an artist, great opportunity for you. If you're a writer, wonderful opportunity for you. If you're not, still a good opportunity, because some of us who feel we're not very good at writing, sometimes, you bring something from the heart and it makes all the difference. Now, email your entries to ncsapr@barbados.gov.bb or drop them off at their offices over at the corner of First Avenue and Pine Roll. You can also call them on 535-6272 or 535-6277. That's the NCSA's Don't Meth It Up poster and writing contest. So you definitely should look into that and be a part of it. All right? Definitely a worthwhile cause and something we don't want to hear about here in Barbados, but it's here. All right, we're going to take another break and come on back and wrap up today's presentation.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
3 minutes now to go before 8 o'clock. I almost said 7 o'clock. I'm rewinding the clock. So 3 minutes to go now before 8 o'clock. So we're getting ready to wrap things up. But we want to remind you it's Q Day. Make sure you head out to Q in the community today. We are heading off to Farley Hill National Park. I told you it was somewhere wonderful and picturesque. For Q in the community today, so Q family, head on out, because Q is Good For You is hosted by It's a Mirage Bar and Restaurant, and I'm sure you're going to have a good time over at Farley Hill National Park today. Of course, there's a bus service. The bus is going to take you. You're going to have a good time. Food, drinks, karaoke, dancing. Truly is an island thing. And remember, it's all CBC. It's all Q in the community, and it's all for you, Q family. So make sure you come on out. Now, today is National Smile Power Day and is celebrated on June 15th each year to encourage people to use the power of a smile to make a positive impact on themselves and others. The day aims to spread happiness, boost morale, and promote the many benefits associated with smiling. How about that? So you know that every day, that's exactly what I tell you. Make sure you wear your smiles. And of course, I tell you that for a reason. It also boosts your immune system, makes you feel good. So do a little bit of research and think about what it can do for somebody else. Somebody might be going through their day and having a hard time. And all of a sudden, there you are, smiling at them. And it makes all the difference. So challenge yourself to smile more often today. All right? Show those pearly whites. Because some people, they do like a grimace. Cassandra does that. She's like, Cassandra Crawford, she does this. But I like, you have to show the teeth. All right? So that's it from us for today. And remember to wear your smiles. Do have a fantastic day today. And be sure to come on back tomorrow because we have another fantastic show planned for you. On behalf of the entire crew, have a wonderful day today. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up.